All right, this is 125 valid palindrome, and this is a very fun question because essentially you're just trying to find if the word is the same backwards. So here it is not the same because race a car, if you do it backwards, there's no E here, so it's not the same, so it's not a palindrome. But this one is the same if you do it backwards, a man. So here is a man. And essentially you have to account for is capital letters, if there's a space, if there's something else other than a letter or a number, so here. And once you remove those things, it should be a palindrome because they're the same forward and backwards. And you should also account for an empty string, right? And so essentially how we want to start this is we want to do 2 pointers, right? So 1 pointer at the beginning, so the left, which you initialize it to the index 0, and then 1 pointer to the right, which you initialize it to the length of the string -1, which is this one, right? It's the length and then -1, so it's the last letter or number. So the length of S -1, right? And then we want to run through the entire set of letters or numbers. And essentially how you do this is you want to do it while the left is less than the right. So essentially the left is at the first index and then the right is here, and you want to keep going, right? You keep going, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going here until you get to the middle, right? Where, let's see, where is the middle? See, it should be right here. That's the middle. So the left would stop here and the right would stop here. And essentially, if it is a palindrome, you would return true, right? And you don't account for this middle letter because it's symmetrical. So it's assuming that, or it's true that both on the left are the same and both on the right are the same, right? And then they share this middle letter. So it is a palindrome. So essentially, the left less than right, it would stop right at the center. And so we want another while loop, and inside this while loop we keep running until left is less than the right, right? So then it doesn't overlap and there's no index out of bounds. But we also want to get rid of these spaces. We want to get rid of these extra variables like this comma or this. So we want to ensure that it's only a letter or number. So we do this using Python's method. Let's see, we do this here. So S at L. So the string at index 0, right, or at the left, the string at the left dot is a letter or number, right? That's pretty much how that looks like. And then we want to say if it's not. So let's say this. If it is a letter or number, it returns true, but we want to find when it is not a letter or number, right? So when it is not a letter or number, then we just move the position of the left pointer just up 1, right? Plus equals 1. We move it 1. Now we want to do the same for the right pointer, and essentially do that the same way, except now we do it at the right pointer. And since it's at the right, we, instead of adding 1, we subtract 1. And that's how that would look like, right? So while the pointers don't overlap, while they keep iterating through this, and it's not a letter or number, we just add 1 until we get to another letter, and then we compare it afterwards. Now here's where we're going to compare it, right? And then since we're also accounting for whether or not it's uppercase or lowercase, we want to set it all to lowercase so that we compare it at the same case. So essentially, if, let's see, the string at the left dot lower, right? The string at the left dot lower is equal to, or actually not equal to, the string at the right dot lower, right? So if they're not equal to each other, then you just return false. Essentially, that's pretty much what you need to do. And then you just keep iterating the left and the right. So plus equals 1, and then minus equals 1. That's pretty much it. So here's the checking to see if it's actually a letter or number. And if it's not a letter or number, then you just add 1 and you keep going until you land on a letter or number. And then now, if you're at a letter or a number, then you set it to lowercase, and if they're not equal to each other, it's not a palindrome, so you return false, and then you keep going, right? You keep iterating through the large string, and then you keep checking. Now, if at the end they've all been equal to each other, then you just return true. You get out of the while loop and you return true, and this should, there we go. That's pretty much how this works. Let's submit it. And there you go. That's how the code is. And this is 125 valid palindrome.